20-04, this board is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to the meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, this is to confirm that we are A, providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. We are utilizing the Zoom platform for this electronic meeting. All members of the board have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting through the Zoom platform, and the public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, participate in this meeting through dialing the following phone number, 603-236-4730, or by clicking on the website address www.watervillevalley.org. B, we're providing public notice of necessary information for accessing the meeting.
Okay.
We previously gave notice to the public of how to access the meeting using Zoom, and instructions are provided on the Town of Waterville Valley's website at www.watervillevalley.org. C, we're providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with access. If anybody has a problem, please call 603-236-4730 or email at townofwv@watervillevalley.org. D, adjourning the meeting if the public is unable to access the meeting. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting, we will adjourn the meeting and have it rescheduled at that time. Please note that all votes will be taken during this meeting will be done by roll call vote. So, initial reminder for everyone to mute themselves as they join in, and we will start with our call.
Yeah.
As before, if you could note if any members of the public are with you during the call. Nancy?
Nancy Knight, member.
Mike?
Mike Coppell, alternate.
Bill Larson? Oh, you're muted, Bill. Bill Larson? Still muted. I'm getting really good at lip reading, but just for the record, there. Oh, no. Oh, there you go.
Bill Larson, member.
Awesome. Wendy Rathgaber, member. John?
John Racine, member alone.
Rich?
Rich Rita, select board ex officio.
Bill Spence?
Bill Spence, member.
Terry?
Terry Waite, member.
Rob?
Rob Wilson, alternate.
Fantastic. Thanks, everyone. Alrighty. Well, let's start with the meeting minutes from the Wednesday, January 13th meeting. Does anyone have any comments?
Yeah, this is Rich. I have a few, Wendy. On line 53, I think you should just read it. The board accepted the application as, or accepts, depending upon what text.
Are you on the 13th or the 14th?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm on the 14th. Sorry.
It's okay. Let's
Sorry.
start with the shorter one first. The 13th, I had a pretty minor one on line 35. It looks like there had been a correction to create plural. The changes, I see a little S in there. And so just on 35, changing the was to a word. And on 36, just for clarity, I feel like when we're talking about discussion around bed and breakfast, make that a comma, perhaps instead of a period, so members of the public are split, just so that everyone understands they were split about the bed and breakfasts. Anyone else have any comments for the 13th, meeting from the 13th of January?
Yeah, on line 36, we could scratch the word in. They were split whether to allow. And you can scratch the words or not.
Nice. Alrighty, anybody else? Now I'll hear a motion for these minutes.
Okay, I move that the minutes be passed as amended.
I'll second.
Alrighty. All those in favor, Nancy,
Nancy Knight, yes.
Bill Larson,
Yes.
myself, yes. John,
John Racine, yes.
Rich,
Rich, yes.
Bill Spence,
Yes.
Harry.
Yes.
Alrighty, so the minutes from Wednesday, January 13th pass as amended. Now for the 14th, the floor is all yours, Rich.
Thank you. And I apologize ahead of time. 53, I think it should just be the board accepts or accepted the application as complete. Line 60. I don't think design and fear perhaps spoke against the design, concern that it looked more like a carnival, maybe a better way of expressing it. 63. I don't think you need the word up, or you might say that a member of the public or the public raised the issue. You don't need further really, also raised the issue. Corcoran Pond in line 65, I believe. There's no apostrophe S. This is something that Brenda Conklin taught me, if I remember correctly. More substantively, the section that begins request for waiver on line 95. I think a big part of that discussion was Craig's assertion that that the planning board had no authority to rule on whether he needed a site plan review for his food trucks, and I don't see that in that particular section. I think we need to capture that, and that would help explain, I think, why we had such a divided poll result.
Yes, yeah, I agree with you because it seems like a lot of the board doesn't like food trucks.
Yeah, that wasn't quite the
Yeah.
intent. At
Yes.
least, yeah, I'll speak for myself. That wasn't, as one of the no's, that wasn't my intent. It was that concept that the board had no jurisdiction. So I think we need to capture that. I'd be glad to provide some language, or if Nick or someone else wants to take just a crack at it and insert it, I'm fine with that too.
Great.
So I think that perhaps we will eventually, in order to get that language in, perhaps we'll have to table that to the next meeting, unless someone can do it on the fly here at 8:10 in the morning.
It might be worth taking a little bit of time with it.
Or whatever time Nancy's at. What time are you now, Nancy? Are you back yet?
Still 5:10 a.m.
Oh, lucky you. That's all I have.
Okay. I'll continue on a little bit from that paragraph. I believe was a little bit out of order because from what I recollect anyway, we had moved Ben to the first aspect of old business. And just to show that appropriately, I'd like to have his presentation before the short-term rentals. And in continuation with that, what is now line 149, instead of areas, I think it's aspects of the concept. And again, in capturing the spirit of the discussion, lines 151 and 152 make it sound like the board was kind of forcing Ben into a corner to apply for a PUD, and I don't believe that was the spirit. So I'd like to see that, captured. And correct me if I'm wrong, Ben, but I believe that a PUD was sort of on your scope from.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we weren't really,
There.
there wasn't that much arm twisting.
Yeah.
Language plus. And then line 112, I think instead of presentation of the amendments, it's forwarding of the amendments to town meeting. And then line 156, I think I had a little bit of a question for John. So if we can capture what that was. Perhaps it just got left off the manuscript when you were taking your notes. Yeah. Any other comments from our regular meeting on January 14th?
I could start on line 18 and 19. I think when it says members absent, the word none or zero should follow that. I had a number of problems with these minutes, and I think it would take too long to, but there are several lines here that I think could be written much better. One of the problems I had was I don't know, the sentence 145 is not complete. It's a new wastewater systems and some of the options that the town is considering should be at the end of that line. As well in 149, the planning unit development PUD proposal. That is, each time that it's referred to, I think it should be identified as a proposal. And in line 155, I don't know what that sentence is supposed to say, but I think that it was that Wendy had asked John if the planning board could consider this matter at the next meeting. Is that not what happened?
I believe so, yes.
And in 160, nothing to report. The word since is missing, or something should be there. Nothing to report since the town core group had not held meetings recently. And 163, John Racine informed the board about a meeting on the 19th. Anyway, I don't want to spend a lot more time on this, but I think these minutes should be looked at again.
I agree. So Nick, would you like some assistance with reviewing these? I do agree with Rich, we should table this acceptance until the next meeting.
Yeah, I can revisit some of the stuff that was brought up, retype them, and I will send them back out to you guys for review and edits.
Okay, and if you need assistance, feel free to reach out to myself or any other member.
Will do.
Set that aside. Excellent. We are cranking right along. Now, for our new business, we have the conditional use permit. Has all of the board received all the paperwork for Ben Laguerre's proposed PUD? Does everyone have everything they need? Yes. Okay. I think that was a yes. Including Tara's feedback, and then we had the letter from Durban Law yesterday as well. Okay. So our first step is to see if the board feels that this application is complete. Does anyone want to speak to the completeness of the application? And this is just covering all the little check marks. If we have all the information in front of us, not necessarily to talk about the information, but if we have it all in front of us. I myself found that it seemed to be complete. As Tara had pointed out, there's a little issue with the timeline clarity. Oh, Bill Larson, go right ahead. Oh, you cut out again, Bill.
Is the zone that it's in clearly identified on the maps?
That is a good question. You know, maybe we should do some screen sharing with the maps. Can we do that, Nick? Can you do that, Nick?
I have to warn everybody that Tina is now in the room.
It is on the plans. To answer Bill's question, the zone is on the plans.
Yeah, yeah, I can share the maps. I also gave Ben privilege to share maps so he can easily move between them.
Okay.
If that would be better.
I don't want to get too bogged down. I just, you know, the issue of completeness or not, and just like to check that off.
I think the zoning is shown on page 7 of 18.
It's in the title block on the plan itself as well.
Exhibit 1.
Any other concerns as to the completeness of the application? Okay. Now, of course, the biggest issue that we're looking at here, and I just want to address this before opening a public hearing, and correct me if I'm wrong in doing it this way, Tara, but the aspect of the multifamily home multifamily dwelling, I would like to get our town council's input on that. Now,
you should probably have the vote to accept it as complete
oh, right. Thank
with
you.
the roll call for the record. And
Okay.
that's the official starting of the 65-day clock.
Okay. So a motion as to the completeness.
This is Rich. I will make the motion to accept the submission by Ben Laguerre as a complete application.
And a second.
I'll second, Wendy.
Great. All right. All in favor? Nancy,
Nancy Knight, yes.
Bill Larson,
Yes.
myself, Wendy Rathgeber, yes. John,
John Racine, yes.
Rich,
Rich Rita, yes.
Bill Spence,
Yes.
Terry.
Yes.
All righty. Great. So step 1, application complete. So to get back to what I was saying, there is a pretty big question about how we're defining a multifamily dwelling. And I would feel more comfortable if the board and Tara, if you have the availability, could meet with town council to make sure that we're on the same correct page with this and our definitions. I'm sure all of the members of the planning board remember our recent history in, while it was different, it had a similar intent of development that the town voted down when we attempted to create what we saw as a correct language to allow this type of development. And I can't help but think of the outrage that would have ensued after that vote, had the previous developer come back and said they wanted to do it as a PUD. So I just want to proceed with caution. I'm not trying to make any comment for or against this particular project. I just want to make sure that multifamily dwellings are being used appropriately. But I'd also like to hear feedback from the rest of the board on this.
I wonder if it, just one thought, I wonder if it would be less expensive if you authorize me to reach out in writing to the town council and provide them my letter and the applicant's attorney's letter and ask him to weigh in writing. Just a thought. And then you'd have the letter as part of the file to, ground your decision going forward.
That's true. That's another thought. I guess it depends on if the board feels they have a lot of questions or just because this has sort of been something we've dealt with. I just want to make sure everyone on the board would have an opportunity to field any questions.
No, I think you're absolutely correct, Wendy, that this is the critical issue. And I think Ben is focused on it. So in order for us to proceed, I think it's very important that we have council's opinion.
Wendy, if I could, I would think that having Tara reach out first may address your questions. If there were still questions, we can have town council prepared to come to the next meeting. And if your questions aren't answered by doing it in writing, the way that Tara suggests, then you can meet with him at the next meeting.
And of course, meeting with town council doesn't even count as a public meeting. You could,
that's right.
You could have your conversation with town council at a slightly different time and not have it be a public meeting, so that you could ask any liability type questions in private that way, off the record.
And that way we have a written response so that we can have some consistency going forward and handle these situations the same way in the future.
Yeah, because that is the biggest concern, is like consistency and fairness here.
Mm-hmm. So I'd recommend doing what Tara has suggested, and then we'll have something in writing. You can review it, and then if you have further questions, you can discuss it with him.
Okay. How does the rest of the board feel about moving forward in that way?
This is Rich. I think that's the way to move forward. Thank you.
Okay.
I have no problem with it at all.
Sounds reasonable.
Agree.
Agreed.
Okay. Mike, I don't think I heard you chime in there.
I agree. There's a very interesting question. And, when you look at the two diagrams aesthetically, and I understand there's a legality and that aesthetically is not necessarily legality. Which one is aesthetically more pleasing driving down the road?
Right, except that's not quite what.
I understand that's not. That is not the legal definition which we should be considering. But I just thought I'd throw that out anyway.
Yeah, and do understand, Ben, the great irony here is that the board wanted to see.
No. I would
move forward.
I concur. I concur, Wendy.
Yeah, it's not that we're.
Yeah, no, I agree. I guess one thing that I could possibly throw out is it's kind of a weird situation where I think you guys are worried about the neighborhood, but I've actually talked to all the neighborhood, and I think what happened last time, it's kind of weird because right now it's almost the exact opposite. They don't want the townhouse. I've talked to the whole neighborhood association, the heads of it, my immediate neighbors, and there might be a possibility to throw out there as because there is a little bit of gray area on it. The way it's written is down in Boston, they have neighborhood meetings. apply for anything. It's kind of a standard. You know, it could be a special meeting, you know, because of COVID, you know, we could do it online, but, you know, I think because it's just weird. Last time the backlash was against the single families, and what I've found this time is they're against the multifamily from just the people I've spoken to. So,
And so you understand that's why the board needs to, you know, we're not trying to drag out the process, we're just
yeah,
sure we get appropriate counsel.
yeah.
And of course, the butters were notified of this morning's upcoming public hearing on these two. I just wanted to chime into Mike. Once the town council gives you the green light, the issue that you brought up, Mike, is totally what you should be looking at in making a decision on the PUD.
So,
Also, I think the presentation of the 13 unit, that's a little gentle persuasion on the part of Ben.
or something
But
like
I don't think any of us would want to see that thing there.
so, Tara, you'd be able to draft a letter and include the copies of the correspondence so far to the town attorney.
Sure.
Thank you. And Mark, if you're still on here somewhere, you'd be able to just forward to the board the response.
Yes.
And in
Thank-
theory, that should happen relatively quickly.
Yeah,
Correct.
within a week. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll ask him for a response sometime next week.
That'd be great.
And we should also, this is Rich, we should also be prepared to have a discussion with our town council, just the board, if necessary, I think. that
Yeah,
would be
I'll
part of it.
schedule him for your March meeting
We
Prior
might
to-
look at, yeah, having it
or
before.
prior. Yeah.
No, I know everyone loves all these extra meetings. I think it would be rather quick and pointed, though.
Gonna mean 7:30.
That's true, right before.
Yeah, I meant a prior day, actually, sorry.
Okay. All right. So thank you for the application, Ben. It's been accepted as complete, and then we'll move forward after we consult with the attorney.
All right. Sounds good.
Thank you so much.
All right.
And thank you to everyone who took the time to join in this morning and stay tuned.
Okay. Thank you.
So will you be opening the public hearing anyway? Or are you gonna open the public hearing and then continue it till March?
Can we hold off on opening the public hearing until after we've met with the attorney?
If you open it and then continue it till March, Nick doesn't have to send out notices again.
Right.
Okay. And how would that affect members discussing the topic outside of the meeting? Perhaps we need to touch on that too.
You can still discuss the comments and application in your meeting now because you've accepted it as complete, but certainly not outside of the meeting.
Right. Okay. So then we'll go ahead and open the public hearing. And I would like to hear a motion to continue it to our, what's the date, March? Sorry,
Just one
calendar.
question on just process.
I'm sorry?
Can I just ask one question on just process going forward?
Yes.
So obviously, I mean, we have our opinion. I personally think there is a little bit of gray area with, there might have to be some latitude to it. So I guess the question is, you know, if it turns out the other way, is that the decision I would have to go multifamily, which is kind of what I kind of showed last time. Is there anything the board can do? Because I know what the neighborhood wants. And, you know, I guess the question is, what do we do if multifamilies are what the zoning wants, which I don't agree with, but I mean, if it comes out that way, but the neighborhood doesn't want it, you know, I guess that's the question. Is there anything procedurally?
Mark, go ahead.
Ben, I think that's the whole point of the meeting with town council is to find out what the options are if it cannot move forward.
Yeah.
So that's the answer that I hope we'll have next meeting.
Okay, because I just have to keep just reminding, I do have a closing date. So like
Yeah.
if it's this way, otherwise I would have to go the other way, just to get my close. I have to get permit before I close. So that's the, so something to think about is whatever it comes out to be, just we could keep in mind that the neighborhood wants is one thing. So if there's a waiver or something we can ask for to grant the ability to go do what we want, then that might be something to talk about. Otherwise, I would have to very quickly switch to the multifamily process to get
Okay.
to complete
Well,
my close.
that's part of what we find out
Yeah.
when they talk to town council.
Okay, sounds
Yep.
good.
So then back to the public hearing. If I could hear a motion to continue it to the March 11th.
Can I ask a question first?
Okay.
Because we are starting and closing the meeting, does that mean that the 65 days has started?
The 65 days.
It has started because you accepted it as complete.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, the clock is ticking.
No, that's good.
Yes.
Wendy, before we continue it, I wonder if there are, if I understand the process correctly, are we going to have any comments from people? They may not be able to make the next meeting. We have some abutters here, I see.
Yeah, I guess I was hesitant to do that without the board having a clear way forward.
They should have their say.
Agreed.
It is an open meeting.
Yeah, no, I'm not trying to deny anyone the chance to discuss.
Procedurally, you certainly could be collecting and considering the public input while you're collecting and considering the town council view on it. And then you'd, hopefully at the next meeting have both sets of input of whether you can do it and whether you should do it.
Okay.
You could still continue the public hearing. I'd recommend that you maybe take some comments now, but continue the public hearing as well so that public can still make comments after you've made your decision based on the town council input.
Okay. So we'll open the public hearing. So in that case, we probably should be sharing the information. Nick, is that something you can put up?
What?
He made Ben a co-host so Ben can put his plans up. That way he can.
That's easier.
Okay.
In on what he wants.
I have it pulled up. Let me see. I'm just trying to see. Nick, would it be easier? Nick was going to run through it for me. Is it possible to have Nick be able to do screen sharing? Or
it should be.
Okay. Nick, do you think you can do that?
And I don't think the board is asking us to do a presentation.
Okay. Okay.
So I think you're just looking for a reference plan, correct, Chairperson?
Yes, just in case.
Okay.
Open it to comments from the public. They may or may not have all of the documents at their disposal.
Okay. Let me pull it up.
Nicholas, are you Ben's partner?
Me, yes. Bill.
Pleased to meet you.
Yeah, likewise. Likewise. And Ben, if you want me to do that, I can do it. I just need.
Yeah, I got it pulled up now. Sorry, I have a lot of projects. My computer is. Okay, so I'm spreading it out. Okay, what do I do? Screen sharing? I'm not like the best with that.
Yes.
Okay, let's see. Trying to see. Screen share. Oh, yeah, share screen. Okay, here we go.
Choose one.
Okay, I got it. Not the best with the Zoom. Okay, there we go.
Good.
Okay. And actually, for members of the public who are here, if you could type your name into the chat, just for public record, makes it easier for Nick to keep track. And if anyone has any questions or comments about this project, either for or against at this point. I know we do have a letter from Ken Ackley stating, I'm sorry, I don't have it printed out in front of me, citing concern about the previous vote and encouraging the board to consider how the town had voted in the past.
If people use the raise hand feature under reactions to put their hand up, then Nick can see, it raises them to the top of the participants list, and then Nick can tell you who's got their hand up and in what order.
Excellent. Okay, so if we can do it that way. Of course, if anyone has trouble with that, at this point, you can just chime in. So this is the proposal from Ben Legary for potential PUD. Any comments from the public?
This is Barry. This is the plan that I would prefer over any other plan. I think it's very pleasing. It fits in with the neighborhood. I think from both sides, from the driveway side and from the road side, it would look very pleasing. I own the lot that's on the left, and I think that that would fit in with anything that would be built there. So I'm in support. If, you know, legally he can do it, I'm in support of this plan.
Okay, thank you, Barry. Anybody else, either in support or with any concerns? Nick, do you have Ken Ackley's submission in front of you? Would you be able to read that?
I don't. That's on the computer upstairs.
I should be able to look at my phone.
You have it, Wendy?
Yeah, I should be able to get it on here.
No. Why? Because I use it all the time.
Okay. Sorry, everyone, just trying to navigate in my phone.
Wendy, can I ask a question here of the butters?
Yeah.
Just for our information with regard to how we're looking at this, can anyone provide me with what the reasoning might be as to why the previous proposed PUD on the other side of Golden Heights Road was not favorably accepted, whereas this one is? Is there something that was done on this one that makes it more attractive or something?
Good question.
I might be able to give you some input.
Thank you, Barry.
One of the biggest concerns about the other plan and the PUD is because there were so many and they were so close together, and what that would look like. So that's the biggest reason. I think there were like 20, I don't have it in front of me, 24, 25 lots, and they all had a house on it. They were very close together. It just didn't look like something that would fit in well with Waterville Valley.
Yeah, we were talking about 5,000 square foot lots. You know, if you multiply this out, you know, this is closer to 7,500, 8,000 square feet per unit.
I mean, this will be like its own little community, sort of. If you want that community feel, and what's going to be around it is going to be very similar to it. So the whole thing is going to be a community type feel, at least for me anyway. And it fits in. It's just looks nice. Ben's a quality builder. I've seen his stuff. So anyway, that's my input.
I have the submission from Ken Ackley here. I'll just read it. I'm unable to remotely attend the planning board meeting discussing the Golden Heights development. I live at 17 Golden Heights, and the proposal directly impacts me and would like to express my views in case the board is asked to waive any restrictions to this village commercial property. I believe it's in my best interest that the town maintains the minimum lot size for residential use in this VC property. The prior proposal of townhouses on the 2 lots looks promising, and prefer that it proceeds as discussed. If asked, I hope that the planning board defers to the position of the town residents based on the much debated 2019 town vote. That was from Ken Ackley. All right, any other comments from the public? There will, of course, be future opportunities.
Ken would actually be considered an abutter, right?
I don't believe he abuts.
Because there's a lot between them.
Yes.
Because there's a lot between.
Right. Is that right, Barry? I know you're more.
That's my understanding. I just wanted to make sure.
Yes, I believe so. Barry, can you confirm that?
I'm sorry, I was.
Oh,
Yeah, that's what I thought, Jenny.
Jenny's confirming it. Thank you.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So is Jenny looking it up?
She confirmed it. She owns a lot between Kent and development.
Okay.
All righty. If there aren't any additional comments, Nick, do you see anyone needing to comment?
I do not.
Okay. We could take a motion to continue this to our March 11th regular meeting.
I will move to continue this meeting until the March 11th meeting at 8 a.m.
Is there a second?
Okay. I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor? Nancy? Sorry, my site's limited. I don't know if you're just having trouble with your mute, Nancy.
For some reason, the space bar doesn't work when you're sharing, I think. I said Nancy Knight, yes.
Thank you. Bill Larson?
Yes.
Myself, yes. John?
John Racine, yes.
Rich?
Rich Rita, yes.
Bill Spence?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
All righty, so we will continue this to the March 11th meeting. Again, thank you, Ben. We can
All
go
right.
stop the sharing.
Oh, yep. Let me see. Stop share.
Alrighty. Great. Thanks again, everyone, and we will.
All right. Thank you.
Revisit in March. Thank you. All righty. So next for our new business, wetland setbacks. John. you want to lead the discussion on that?
Okay, sure. So our last meeting, we had Rick Vanderpool in with us. And the wetland setback was discussed at the last COMCOM meeting. They were determined not to be a high priority. What is a high priority now is the stormwater and drainage issues. This will be addressed by the engineers and they were also working with the town in regards to that. So we thought that was a much more high priority because there's not a whole lot of land left in regards to setbacks from the wetland areas. That's pretty much our finding at this point.
Okay, so at this point, does the Concom suggest that we wait until the engineer does their work on the roads? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and yeah, and Mark's got a lot of information already from them, and that's what we're kind of waiting on. So.
Okay. Well, that makes it a little bit more streamlined.
Yeah.
I know at that meeting there had been some discussion, and if we did want to incorporate some setbacks, that Tara would be able to assist us with that. But at this point, the Conservation Commission doesn't feel like that's needed. Is that correct?
Well, the setbacks are needed, but the stormwater and drainage, when we talked with Rick, he made us realize that it was not, the priority really was the stormwater drainage areas. There's so much of it here that we really need to make that a priority issue instead of the setbacks. We still think the setbacks should be applied, but at a later date, perhaps, until we get more information. What do you think, Tara?
Well, it's what I got from that meeting was that he was more concerned about shoreline setbacks than wetland setbacks. I didn't really hear much discussion about wetlands and wetland setbacks at that meeting. I heard that different, rivers and brooks is more the issue, and that more study was needed to identify which would be the priorities in terms of stormwater. That's kind of how I heard it, that there'll be more information to help the planning board not just make a blanket. Like sometimes when we do shoreline setbacks, we do kind of a blanket statement that it's all streams of a certain order. Other times it's based on a study that says, well, these three are the really important ones in terms of managing stormwater from the community. And it sounded like that's the direction that you guys were heading.
We're waiting for Rick.
That makes sense. Yeah, we're really kind of waiting for Rick to guide us on that.
Yeah, that was what I took away from the meeting.
Okay.
So Mark, how is the engineer progressing with identifying stormwater runoff issues? Is that in this?
We won't do any of that work until we have town meeting. The final design work will be completed as part of the funding that we still need to get authorized. So we're on a hold basically for additional engineering work on these projects until we get town meeting authorization of the money.
That's the May meeting, Mark?
Yes.
Okay. So in that meantime, John, there's nothing that the Concom needs us to focus on now as a board.
It sounds like yes.
Yeah, and Rick did provide us with the cost estimate of his participation in that, if need be, right, with the engineering, if we have any questions. And we have enough money within our general engineering budget to allow Rick to do that if we need to.
Great.
Great.
It's not a large amount of work by him, so.
Okay.
Great.
All right. So then our next topic is our informational meeting. As you're all aware, it got bumped from last night to next Wednesday. And just figured we'd take a few minutes to make sure that we are all on the same page with the best way to present to the public. The article was published in the Wigwag, and we do have additional copies of that article in the post office. However, I realized it needs a title, so I'll get you that.
That's very true, Wendy.
Yeah. So
Pick one.
yeah, gosh, we could go a lot of directions with that. Anyway, I'll make sure to get you that updated, Nick, so people know what they're picking up. But anyway, for the meeting on the 17th, Tara, you're able to be there, right?
Yeah.
And I had sent her on an email showing the chart that we'd been relying on a lot, and just wanted to see if any members had any thoughts of things that we ought to be considering in addition to what Tara had sent out, or any changes that we should consider before that evening and how we're presenting it.
You want to talk about who's presenting it? Who? Like, are you gonna present it and I'll do the screen sharing and answer any questions?
Yeah, well, I guess it depends. I love your authority on the topic.
I mean, I'm happy to present it. I just asking that we decide ahead of time. So
Yeah. No, I guess I would feel like if I did an introduction, and then you continued on with the details.
do you feel like the chart is the thing to have on the screen, or the descriptions that went in the warrant, or what? You might be mixed about whether the chart is helpful or a hindrance.
Yeah, I like the chart. My only concern is that if people expect to see that when they go to vote and then they don't and they're confused. I'm wondering if we start with the language that people will be seeing and then be able to go out broader if the questions go in that direction.
Yeah, that sounds good. So I'd go through each warrant article and then say, and this is how it all hangs together, and show the chart. Maybe.
That's what I'm thinking. Does anyone else have other thoughts on it?
Yeah, I have one with regard to the chart. I wonder if it would be helpful. I think you guys have heard me speak to this before, to have a chart that shows what's currently allowed.
Yeah, I haven't ignored that comment, but the reason I've not done it is some is a gray area, right? Some of the things of what's allowed would have to be decided by a court. So I'm not really sure that's valid if you have a allowed now and not allowed, because you'd need to add a not clear if it's allowed column, and then I think you're inviting trouble.
Well, I'm thinking about those just trying to understand by way of chart. I mean, here's what it is now. Here's what it will look like afterward. I think most people find that very helpful. I understand your concern, but maybe that's the point, is that it certainly the language, we can repeat the language of the zoning ordinance and a note at the bottom of the chart that talks about the fact that this could be could be legally challenged.
I wouldn't recommend publishing something that says that. Right.
Okay.
I think we can probably address why we need to do this, perhaps state it verbally, that, the reason we've chosen to go down this path is because of the legal uncertainties involved.
I mean, some things are just, that's the whole thing with short-term rentals and why the New Hampshire Municipal Association is recommending that you get these definitions in there and the thresholds, because when it's silent, it's just not clear at what point renting out my home or rooms in my home became a commercial use in a residential district. There's some point in there, but when the ordinance is silent on it, it's not clear what that point is. The one that was the court case that gave us all kind of the go-ahead, it was blatantly lodging, right? They owned a house next door to them that they never lived in, and it was just for the purpose of short-term rental. But there's an awful lot of things in between that zoning ordinances, that most zoning ordinances are still just silent on. That's what you're trying to get clear. So I couldn't really get my head around how you'd put that in a what's allowed now and what's not kind of chart. But yeah, I think that's certainly how we'll want to explain it at the meeting.
Okay. Any other thoughts or feedback that you've received from property owners? Things that you feel like we need to highlight, especially? We're all just sick of talking about it.
How come Terry's laughing? That's what I want to know. What's Terry thinking?
Well, it's ready to go to the public as far as I'm concerned. I see what your dilemma is, Tara, with regard to making things, I think it might make things more confusing if you try to deal with it, but maybe Wendy has the idea of making a verbal statement about the current situation, so it's understood what we're trying to do wouldn't be a bad idea.
Okay. All right, so I guess we're feeling prepared next Wednesday. And hey, since town meeting isn't till May, we could have time for even more.
Is the ballot?
No, 9 March.
Oh, the ballot's 9 March. Okay.
Yeah.
You vote 9 March.
Never mind then. Sorry to deprive you all of that. All right. We're cranking right along. Committee reports. The town core group has not met. I believe we will be needing to meet soon because we have a TAP grant. Mark, when is that TAP due? Application grant application. Oh, you muted yourself. Mark, you're muted.
Sorry, I believe it's April 15th.
Okay. Yeah.
During the month of April. I can't remember the exact date, but I will check that. So we will need to have a meeting to finalize that application. A lot of it's going to come from the Northern Borders application because they're very similar programs. Just need to take the trail work out of the Northern Borders application and make it just the road.
Okay. And sidewalk or multi-use pathway. Okay. So that's about where they're at. We've talked. Anything additional to add for the Conservation Commission, John? Besides what?
No, the only thing is our next meeting is March 8th. So we'll have more information at that point and talk things over. That's about all I have.
Okay. Nick, were there any additional communications?
Nope.
Okay. Great. So then at this point, opening up. So we are set to do our informational meeting in the evening of Wednesday, February 17th at 6 o'clock. And our next regular meeting, Thursday, March 11 at 8 o'clock with the potential for a board meeting with the town attorney in between those two dates. Okay. Anything else that anyone needs to discuss?
You're kidding.
No, serious, Mike.
Wow.
I like it.
Wow.
We take an average of how our meetings go, and then it works out tolerably.
Call for the adjournment.
So, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll move to adjourn.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. All those in favor, Nancy? Oh. No, sorry.
Okay, Nancy Knight, yes.
Bill Larson,
Yes.
myself, Wendy, yes. John,
John Racine, yes.
Rich,
Rich Reader, yes.
Bill Spence,
Yes.
Terry.
Yes.
All right, thank you so much, everyone. Thanks, Tara. And Nancy, you can probably even get back to sleep now, right?
I'm gonna try.
Fix that space bar, Nancy.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Wendy.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thanks, Wendy.
Bye-bye.